Nothing dramatic, nothing personal, just intentional silence. Christmas morning started the way it always did in our family. My mother's house smelled like cinnamon rolls and coffee. My brother's kids were running around in their pajamas, clutching stuffed animals and half-open boxes. My sister-in-law was taking photos by the tree. Everything looked warm. Everything looked normal. I had driven 3 hours to be there. I'd left at 5 in the morning to avoid traffic. I brought gifts for everyone, thoughtful ones, the kind that required planning. A cashmere scarf for my mother and her favorite shade of gray, a wooden train set for my nephew that I'd found at a craft fair, a cookbook for my sister-in-law because she'd mentioned wanting to try new recipes. I'd wrapped them carefully the night before, sitting alone at my kitchen table with a glass of wine and a roll of cream-colored paper. When I arrived, my mother greeted me with a hug. It was quick. She smelled like hairspray and vanilla. She told me I looked tired. I told her I was fine. My brother was in the kitchen, pouring orange juice into glass tumblers. He looked up when I walked in and nodded. He didn't ask about my drive. He didn't ask how I'd been. He just said, "Coffee's ready if you want some." I poured myself a cup and stood by the counter watching everyone move around me like I was furniture. The kids came running in, and I crouched down to hug them. They were sweet. They always were. But after a few seconds, they ran back to the living room, and I was left standing there with my coffee, wondering why I felt so small. We gathered around the tree just before 9. My mother sat in her usual chair, a pale blue armchair that had been in the same spot for as long as I could remember. My brother and his wife sat on the couch with the kids between them. I took a seat on the floor near the fireplace, even though there was space on the love seat. No one offered me the love seat. No one suggested I sit somewhere more comfortable. So I sat on the floor, my back against the brick, and I watched. My mother went first. She opened a flat box for my brother and his wife. Inside was a framed photo of the grandkids at the beach, all 3 of them grinning and matching sun hats. My mother pressed her hand to her chest and said it was beautiful. She cried a little. My sister-in-law took more photos. Then my brother opened his gift from our mother, a leather weekend bag with his initials embossed on the front. He said it was perfect. He said he'd use it for his work trips. My mother smiled. My sister-in-law opened a jewelry box. Inside was a delicate gold bracelet. She gasped. She put it on immediately and held her wrist up to the light. My mother told her she deserved something special. My sister-in-law hugged her. I sat on the floor and sipped my coffee. The kids opened their gifts one by one. Toys, books, art supplies, a tablet for my oldest nephew. Everything was met with shrieks and thank yous. My mother kept saying, "You're welcome, sweetheart. You're so welcome." Then it was my turn. My mother reached behind her chair and pulled out a small envelope. Red. Plain. The kind you get at the drugstore. She handed it to me with a smile. I said thank you. I opened it. Inside was a gift card to a chain restaurant, the kind with unlimited breadsticks. The balance was printed on the front in small letters. $22. I looked at it for a moment. Then I looked up and smiled. "Thank you," I said again. "This is great." My mother nodded. "I thought you could treat yourself to a nice meal." I folded the envelope and set it beside me. No one said anything. No one seemed to think it was strange. The gift exchange continued. I didn't react. I didn't say anything. But something inside me shifted. $22. Not 20, not 25, 22. I sat there on the floor and thought about that number. I thought about the leather bag with the embossed initials. I thought about the gold bracelet. I thought about the framed photo and the tears and the way my mother had said, "You deserved something special." And I thought about the envelope in my hand. I stayed for another hour. I helped clean up the wrapping paper. I played a board game with the kids. I refilled my coffee twice. I smiled when people looked at me. But I was somewhere else entirely. I drove home in silence. No music, no podcast, just the sound of the highway and my own thoughts. I kept replaying the morning in my mind. The way my mother had handed me the envelope, the way no one had reacted, the way my brother hadn't looked up from his phone. It wasn't just the amount. It was the message. $22 wasn't a mistake. It wasn't thoughtless. It was specific. It was deliberate. It was a statement. When I got home, I sat in my car in the driveway for 10 minutes before I went inside. Over the next few days, I started thinking about other Christmases, other holidays, other moments I had brushed off or tried to ignore. Last year, my mother gave me a candle. A nice one, sure, but my brother had received a check for $2,000 to help with his mortgage. My mother had told me later that she didn't mention it to me because she didn't want me to feel bad. She didn't want me to feel bad, as if not telling me would make it less real. The year before that, I wasn't included in the family trip to the lake house. My mother said it was just going to be my brother and his family, because the kids wanted time with Grandma. She said I'd understand. I said I did. But I didn't. I wanted to go. I had asked if I could come. My mother smiled and said, maybe next time. There was never a next time. I thought about birthdays, too. My brother's 40th birthday was a surprise party at a nice restaurant. 30 people, a cake shaped like a golf course, speeches, toasts. My mother organized the whole thing. My 40th birthday was a text message. Happy birthday, hope you have a nice day. No dinner, no cake, no gathering. When I asked my mother if we could have a small dinner to celebrate, she said she was busy that week. She said we'd do something soon. We never did. I also started thinking about the everyday things, the small moments that didn't seem important at the time, but now felt like pieces of a larger pattern. Phone calls that went unreturned, invitations I never received, plans made without me, conversations I was excluded from. My mother called my brother every morning. I knew because he'd mentioned it once in passing. She called him to ask about his day, to check on the kids, to see if he needed anything. She called me once a month, maybe. And when she did call, the conversations were short, surface level. She'd ask how I was, and before I could answer in any real way, she'd say she had to go. It wasn't that she was cruel, it was that I wasn't a priority. I wasn't thought of, I wasn't included, and somehow, over the years, I had accepted it. I didn't confront anyone right away. I didn't send an angry text or make a phone call demanding an explanation. I just started paying attention. I started noticing things I had trained myself not to see. In January, my mother posted photos from Christmas on social media. There were pictures of my brother's family around the tree, pictures of the kids opening gifts, pictures of my mother holding her framed photo. There was one picture of me. I was in the background, blurred, holding a coffee cup. The caption read, "Blessed to spend the holidays with my family." I wasn't tagged. In February, my sister-in-law called me. It was the first time she'd called me directly in over a year. She needed a favor. She was organizing a baby shower for a friend and wanted to know if I could donate a gift basket for the raffle. She said it would mean a lot. She said it was for a good cause. I said yes. I spent $60 on a basket filled with organic baby products, hand-knit blankets, and a wooden rattle I'd found at the same craft fair where I'd bought my nephew's train set. I delivered it to her house the following weekend. She thanked me, took the basket, and closed the door. She didn't invite me in, she didn't offer me tea or ask how I'd been. She just said, thanks, and closed the door. In March, my mother called. She wanted to know if I could help her with some yard work. She said my brother was too busy with the kids' activities. She said it would only take a few hours. I drove the 3 hours to her house on a Saturday morning. I raked leaves, I trimmed hedges, I hauled bags of mulch from her driveway to the backyard. When I was finished, she made me a sandwich and gave me a bottle of water. Then she told me she was tired and needed to rest. I drove home. She didn't offer me gas money. She didn't thank me beyond a quick, "You're a sweetheart." I realized, sitting in my car on the drive home, that I was only called when something was needed. I was not called to talk. I was not called to connect. I was called to help. By April, I had stopped answering every call. I didn't ignore my mother completely, but I stopped dropping everything the moment she reached out. When she called and asked if I could drive over to help her organize her garage, I said I had plans. I didn't, but I said I did. She sounded surprised. She said, "Oh, okay, maybe another time." I said, "Maybe." There was a pause, a long one. Then she said, "Well, I'll let you go." And she hung up. I started thinking more clearly about who I was to these people. I was the person who showed up. I was the person who helped. I was the person who didn't complain. But I was not the person they celebrated. I was not the person they thought about. I was not the person they included unless it was convenient. And the gift card, the $22, had simply made it impossible to ignore anymore. In May, I received a text from my brother. It was short. "Hey, can you lend me $500? We'll pay you back next month." I stared at the message for a long time. My brother made good money, better than I did. He had a nice house, 2 cars, a boat he barely used, and he was asking me for $500. I thought about the $2,000 check my mother had given him the year before. I thought about the leather bag. I thought about the gold bracelet for his wife. I thought about the $22 gift card. I typed back, "I can't help you right now." He didn't respond. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't ask why. He just didn't respond. In June, my mother called to tell me about a family barbecue she was planning for the 4th of July. She said it was just going to be a small thing, my brother and his family, a few of their friends, nothing fancy. She didn't invite me. She was just telling me about it. I listened. I said it sounded nice. I waited to see if she'd say, "You should come." She didn't. After a pause, I said, "Should I plan to come?" She hesitated. "Oh, well, I mean, you can if you want. I just thought you might be busy." "I'm not busy," I said. "Oh, okay, well, okay, if you want to come, you're welcome." If I wanted to come. If. I said, "I'll think about it." She said, "Okay, honey, let me know." I didn't let her know, and I didn't go. On the 4th of July, I stayed home. I made myself a nice dinner. I sat on my back porch with a glass of wine and watched the sunset. My phone stayed on the counter inside. No one called. No one texted to ask where I was. No one noticed I wasn't there. In August, I started making changes. Small ones at first. I stopped initiating contact. I stopped sending the "just checking in" texts. I stopped asking how everyone was doing. I waited to see who would reach out. Weeks went by. No one did. I also started doing things for myself. I signed up for a pottery class. I joined a book club at the library. I started going to a yoga class on Wednesday evenings. I met people. Not family, not people who had known me for years and had decided I wasn't worth their time. Just people. People who smiled when they saw me. People who remembered my name. People who asked me questions and actually listened to the answers. It felt strange at first, but then it felt good. In August, my mother called. She sounded upset. She said she didn't understand why I had been so distant. She said I never called anymore. She said it felt like I didn't care about the family. I took a breath. "I've called," I said calmly. "For years I've called. I've driven to your house. I've brought gifts. I've helped with yard work and errands and anything you needed. I've shown up." There was silence. "I don't understand what you're upset about," she said. "I'm not upset," I said. "I'm just not available the way I used to be." "Well, that's not fair," she said. "Family is supposed to be there for each other." "Yes," I said. "They are." I didn't say anything else. She filled the silence with small complaints. She said I was being difficult. She said I was making things awkward. She said my brother had noticed too. "Noticed what?" I asked. "That I've been distant." I almost laughed. "Tell me," I said quietly, "when was the last time he called me?" She didn't answer. "When was the last time he asked how I was doing? When was the last time anyone in this family thought about me unless they needed something?" "That's not true," she said. "It is true," I said, "and you know it." She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I think you're being very unfair." And she hung up. I didn't hear from her for 3 weeks. I didn't hear from my brother at all, and I was okay with that. In October, my sister-in-law sent me a message. It was long, it was carefully worded. She said she hoped I was doing well. She said she understood that family dynamics could be complicated. She said she didn't want there to be tension. Then she said she was hoping I could contribute to a group gift for my mother's birthday in November. She said everyone was chipping in $200 to buy her a new tablet. $200? I read the message twice. Then I wrote back, "I won't be contributing, but I hope she enjoys the gift." My sister-in-law responded an hour later, "Is everything okay?" I didn't answer. In November, on my mother's birthday, I sent her a card. Just a card. Inside, I wrote, "Happy birthday. I hope you have a lovely day." I didn't call. I didn't visit. I didn't send a gift. She didn't acknowledge the card. Thanksgiving came and went. I wasn't invited. Or maybe I was, and it was one of those unspoken assumptions that I'd show up. I didn't. I spent Thanksgiving with a friend from my book club. We made roasted vegetables and sweet potatoes and watched old movies. It was quiet. It was peaceful. It was one of the best Thanksgivings I'd ever had. In early December, my mother called again. She asked if I was coming for Christmas. Her tone was neutral, not warm, not cold, just asking. I thought about the year before, the envelope, the $22 gift card, the way I had smiled and said thank you while sitting on the floor. "I don't think so," I said. "Why not?" she asked. "Because I don't feel welcome," I said simply. "That's ridiculous. You're always welcome." "No," I said. "I'm always expected to show up. That's not the same thing." She didn't respond right away. Then she said, "I don't know what you want from me." "I don't want anything," I said. "Not anymore." "So you're just going to stop being part of this family?" "I stopped being part of this family a long time ago," I said. "I just didn't realize it until last Christmas." There was a long pause. "This is about the gift card," she said. "It's not about the gift card," I said. "It's about what the gift card represented." "It was just a gift," she said. "You're reading too much into it." "Maybe," I said, "or maybe I'm finally reading it correctly." She sighed. "I think you're making a mistake." "Maybe," I said again, "but it's my mistake to make." She said she had to go. I said okay. And that was it. I spent Christmas alone this year. I didn't feel sad about it. I felt free. I made myself a good breakfast. I went for a long walk. I read a book I'd been meaning to start for months. In the evening, I video called my friend from Thanksgiving. We talked for over an hour. She told me about her day. I told her about mine. She said, "I'm glad you're taking care of yourself." I said, "Me too." I don't know what will happen with my family. I don't know if my mother will ever understand. I don't know if my brother will ever reach out. Part of me hopes they will. But part of me knows that hope isn't enough to rebuild something that was never really built in the first place. What I do know is this. I am not angry. I am not bitter. I am just clear. For years, I accepted a role that made me small. I accepted being overlooked, being taken for granted, being valued only when I was useful. I told myself it was normal. I told myself it was just how families worked. But it wasn't normal, and I don't accept it anymore. The $22 gift card is still in my wallet. I haven't used it. I probably never will. But I keep it there as a reminder that I am worth more than $22, a reminder that I am worth more than convenience, a reminder that I deserve to be thought of, celebrated, and included, not as an afterthought, but as someone who matters. And if the people in my life can't see that, then maybe they're not my people. Maybe my people are still out there. Or maybe I'm learning to be enough for myself. Either way, I'm okay. If this story reminded you of something you've lived, a moment when you realized you were no longer a priority, or when a small gesture revealed something much larger, you're not alone in that feeling. And if these stories feel like company to you, you're welcome to stay. You can follow the channel so we can keep sharing moments like this. You can also turn on notifications so the next story finds you when you need it. Take care of yourself. You matter.